All right. So in the last sessions, we learned about strings, we learned about lists, and we learned basics of Python so far. So we are going to learn today about new data structure. One is tuple and second one is dictionary. And as we learned, there are two types of data structures. One is mutable and one is immutable. As you can see in this table, so list is a mutable and strings were immutable. And today we are going to learn about uh, a tuple, which is not mutable, whereas dictionaries also is non-mutable in the case the keys cannot be modified. Okay, so values can be updated. Okay, and let's start with uh, learning about the dictionaries. So before that, I want to give a tip about strings. So in general, the way we do print is basically we define a variable and we give Python, and if we want to print this variable, we just use print name. But what if I want to print my name is Python? So in that case, so what I can do is I can define a variable called full sentence and say my name is. Okay, so here if I write the variable name, the value of variable name would not be there, like the value would not be replaced. So if you want to replace any values, you use something known as a placeholder. The way you put a placeholder is just put a curly braces and you do just dot format. Okay, and how many number of these placeholders you put, those many number of values that you need to provide, and dot format will take care of replacing those values. Okay, so here if I do this, now it would basically print. If I do print full sentence, okay, so this would basically print my name is Python. Okay, so that's how I wanted to give additional tip on how to print it. With the latest version of Python, we have something known as f strings, where you need not use dot format, and it's quite easy to use f strings as well, but this is the easiest way to start. And let's start with dictionaries. So dictionaries are a data structure in Python, which is used similar to a concept called hash map. Okay, hash map is something where you store the data in the form of key value pairs. For example, here I'm going to store data about an employee. Okay, so I'm going to store the key as name and the value as Monty, age as 25, salary as 8,000, city as Bangalore. So the both key and value are separated by a colon. Okay. So this is how you basically define a dictionary. The way to define a dictionary is variable name equal to uh, the curly braces. In that you define basically um, the key value pairs. There is other way also. So what I will do is I will define employee is equal to, I would just make this an empty dictionary, and I would say type of employee, just to find out what kind of data structure it is. It is a dictionary. Okay, so how do I add these key value pair? So the way to add key value pair is employee is our dictionary. Now to add a new key value, we will say in the bracket, square bracket, the key. Okay, and you would basically just say the value here. The way to create is very simple. You create an empty dictionary or directly define it like this, the whole dictionary, or you can add one by one the key value pairs. You say employee in the square brackets, the key name, and equal to the value. Okay, this is how you add uh, key value pairs inside the dictionary. Okay, so this is being heavily used data structure. And nowadays, with the internet communication and the use of REST APIs has increased among the distributed systems. And most of the times, the data that is coming to your system is called JSON, okay, JavaScript object notation. So that data structure, when you decode it, it gets converted into a dictionary. Okay, so if you know how to manipulate dictionary, then you will know how to receive that data and how to work with that data. Okay, now similarly, I will add employee of age. So I'll make it 25, and similarly I will add salary as well, equal to 8,000. Okay, so now if you just say employee, you will get all these key value pairs printed. Now, if you want to access the key and the value, basically you would say employee of, you're just asking the question, give me the value of name. I'm getting as Monty. Give me the value of age. Okay. Give me the value of salary. Now, what happens if I give a key that does not exist? For example, I would say salary 2, which does not exist. So it throws an error, says that the key does not exist. It says key error. Okay. And basically, if you want to override the values, you just directly do the same way as you did before. Like the employee of name currently is Monty, but at a later point in time, you want to override it. So let me print employee and say employee of, you can use single quote as well. And I would say new name. Okay. Now if I print employee, the values would have got updated. Okay. So similarly, you can do a lot of operations. The way to check what operations are available in this data structure, you do dir of dict, that is dict, and you have got, these are the functions, these are the functionalities that are available. For example, you want to update some values. You want to get only keys from the uh, dictionary. You want only to get only the values from the dictionary. Okay, so we learned about for loop some time back, and this will come very handy to access these values. I will show you how. The first functionality that I can show you is to get only the keys. Okay, so what I will do is the dictionary name that I have here is employee. So I will say for key in, okay, and I'm going to use that functionality now. What is the functionality? Employee dot keys. Okay, wherever colon is there, I need to use a tab, and I would just do print key. Okay, so as expected, it prints the keys. Okay, similarly, in the same for loop, you can print both key and value as well. We learned how to access these values. Basically, you say employee and the square bracket, and you pass the key. Here keys are name, age, and salary. So what I will do is okay, let me write this for loop again. For key in employee dot keys. Okay, and I would do employee, and in the bracket I would give key. So this would give me a value basically, and I would just print key. So it will print new name and the value and the key, the value and the key. Okay. So basically this is how you can loop through these values. So what I want you guys to do is use only the values functionality to get only the values using for loop. Okay, can you guys do that? Please try it out. And while loop gets little bit trickier, uh, and it's um, you need to add some logic. Okay, let's not do that right now. But dictionaries also provides you additional functionality called items. Okay, where I will show you once we learn about tuples. Okay, once we learn about tuples, we can actually, I will come back to that. So we learned how to access the values using keys functionality. Similarly, I wanted you guys to try out the values functionality. Okay, so now there is also an option called pop. So how to get help for this? Help dict.pop. So what does this do? It basically removes the specified key from the dictionary. For example, I want to remove the age. So employee dot pop, and what's the key name? Age. Okay. So now it removed that key and also showed you what was the value of that key. Okay. So that is 25. Uh, so this is how you basically pop an item from the dictionary. And now previously we learned if you give a key which does not exist, for example, age does not exist right now. So it throws, just a minute, it throws an error called key error, and it says age does not exist. But if you don't want to get this error, and you want to assign a default value to it, you use a new functionality called get. Okay, for example, employee dot get, and you say age, and if age does not exist, what should be the value of age? So it basically returns 10. Okay, now if I remove this 10, so it gives you a value called none in Python, None. Okay, and none means nothing. Okay, so it's an empty value, and uh, if you don't give any default value, it gives none. So we learned about get, we learned about keys, we learned about values, we learned about pop. Okay, suppose there can be a situation where you have one dictionary called employee, and there is one more dictionary called employee 2, so which contains age as the key and uh, the value as 40. Now employee has got key value pairs name and salary, and employee 2 has got age 40. Okay, now I want to take all the values from employee 2 and put it in employee. So the way to do is employee dot update, and you just say employee 2. Now what happens is I just say employee, so it has got the values that were taken from employee 2 and put it under the employee. But what happened to employee 2 now? Sorry, employee 2. All right, so it remained same, but the employee dictionary got updated with all the values. So we learned about all these functionalities. Any questions so far? So this is how we get all the functionalities. So we got get, we got we got keys, we got values. Now there is also one more functionality called clear, which basically deletes all the key value pairs from the dictionary. Similarly, there is a functionality called dot copy. That means it copies all the values from the dictionary and assign it to a new dictionary. Okay, it doesn't update, it creates new dictionary. Okay, for example, I'm going to say x is equal to employee dot copy. Now x also has got the same values and employee also has got the same values. Any questions so far? All right. Um, Next, Uh, we will learn about the data structure called tuple. Um, as you see, a tuple is an ordered list. Dictionary was a unordered list, unordered data structure. That means that the values that you enter into a dictionary are not in an ordered way. Okay, in some of the systems, if you print the dictionary, it might not be in a similar order like the way you have entered the keys and values. Okay, they might get jumbled up. Okay? That is why dictionary is a not ordered data type. Okay, whereas tuple is very similar to list. Okay, so list had lot of these operations, right? Append, remove, pop, insert, all those operations were there in list because it was mutable. The only change here is it is not modifiable, it is immutable. Okay, and the way you represent a tuple is using a normal brackets. Okay, these brackets, whereas list is the square brackets, the dictionary is a curly braces. So let's create a tuple. The way to create a simple tuple is basically, um, I can say, just a minute, I will use normal brackets, and I would say age, and I would say 40. Okay, so this is my new tuple. Okay, so new tuple is equal to age 40. So the way you represent a tuple is using normal brackets, and you can give any values inside it. Okay, so by default tuple is not modifiable. That means the operations are going to be very less. Okay, for example, I would define a variable called nums, and I would create a tuple here, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and if I see dir of tuple here, you would get only two things as operations. One is called index, and second one is called count. Okay, now index is, as we learned in the list, index will help you to find out where exactly the element lies. Okay, whereas the count will tell you how many number of times the value is in the data type. Okay, so how do we do it? Now nums dot index, if I want to know the index of 5, that should be 4 because the indexes start from 0. That's what we learned. And I want to know how many 5s are there in the system, that the tuple data structure. So nums has got only 1 5. Okay, so only two operations that are available in a tuple. Okay, but the next question arises in your mind, right? Where exactly do we use this dictionary list? We are supposed to store the order collection of values where you have an option to modify them. But what about the tuples? So basically tuples are a data structure where you want to store ordered collection of data, but you do not want to modify it once you have created it. For example, to give a live demo, the live example, when you make a call to the database, you make a query, for example, select star from employee, and all the values that you are getting from the database in Python, you basically get it as a tuple because that is only read only. Until and unless you make another query to database and modify it, the data is still going to be read only. Okay, so the data comes back as a tuple. Okay, that is the real use case. And one interesting thing about Python is, in other languages, for example, you can use one variable to store a single value. In Python you can actually use multiple variables at the same time and assign the value simultaneously. So the value of x becomes 10 and value of y becomes 20. Okay, so this is the advantage. Similarly, you can also use x comma y equal to, you can use directly tuple here. Okay, so Now x also becomes 10, y becomes 20. You can actually modify and see this. So this is very important understanding. So there are some of the programs, right, in the interviews people ask, without using temporary variable, how can you exchange the values? That is quite easy here. X comma y is equal to y comma x, right? So x becomes 20. What happened? X is still 10, y is 20. Why is that? So I will show you at a later point how to solve this problem. But the concept that I'm trying to tell you is that you can assign multiple values. And from this learning, I want to go to the next thing. We have missed one method in dictionary called items. Okay. So the items method basically returns key values. Okay. It returns a tuple of key and value. For example, we had dictionary of employee. Okay, so it contains name, salary, and age. When I do employee dot items, basically it gives me um, a tuple of name and new name, salary, and 8,000. So basically a tuple which contains key and value. So what I need to do is just create a for loop to access these key values. For key comma value in, what is the dictionary name? Employee dot items. So wherever I have column, I am just putting a tab there, and I'm going to just do print key comma value. Okay. This is quite easy to print the key value pairs in dictionary. And if you didn't know dot items, then you would be doing in a similar way for key in employee, then you do print key comma employee in the square brackets key. Okay, so you need to have this knowledge of dot items to quickly go over the key value pairs in the dictionary. So this is how the dictionary and tuple are interrelated. Okay. So that's about basically a tuple and a dictionary. And one thing to keep in mind, dictionaries are unordered and tuple are ordered but not modifiable. Okay. So any questions? Any questions so far? So let's try it out using while loop to access key value pairs from a dictionary. Okay. Can you guys try that? The while loop, which will basically access the key value pairs. Okay. How do you do it? What should be the logic here? Okay. So we do not have index here, right? To start the index. So how do we do it? So let's try it out. And that would be your assignment using while loop. And if you don't find it, just post it in the group. I would give you the solution. Okay. So there is one more data type called set. Okay. The set is also represented by curly braces. Okay. And by default, if you just define a variable with curly braces, it would be a dictionary. Okay. It would be a dictionary. So we all learned while we were younger about something known as set theory. Okay. So set theory is where you can basically create two group of values and you want to find a union or intersection, or you want to find some subjoint. All those functionalities are by default available uh, you know you in this particular data structure. Okay. So the advantage of this particular data structure is that you cannot store any duplicate values. Okay. For example, I would create a nums. I want to create a set. Okay, I want to create a set here. How do I create a set? Is basically you use uh, a curly brace and provide the values like a list, not like a dictionary. In dictionary, we provide key value pair separated by a colon, whereas in set, we provide directly the values. So I'm going to say the set, okay, instead of, you could also use this directly the functionality, but I would use a simple way, 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay, for now I will just create this and do type of set. So it says, sorry, type of set is type. I will tell you why it is that. Um, just a minute, I would say nums. So it would tell me set. Okay. Now the sets have an advantage. As I said, it cannot have a duplicate values. Now let me show you what functionalities are available in a set. So if you do, there are, like I said, these are being used for the set theory. For example, you want to have a union, you want to have a intersection, you want to have a symmetric difference, okay? And some more options to actually add an element, remove an element, like add, you have remove, you have pop, you have update. So these are the interesting functionalities, like a normal create, update, delete operations. But along with that, these additional operations are available. So let me add, since I have 10, 20, 30, I will add 40 to it. Now if I print nums, it is 40, 10, 20, 30. Okay. Now the reason why it is like this is that even the set is not ordered. Okay. So what do you mean by not ordered? You cannot access it by a index. Okay. Now I have added it. Now let me try to add again 40. What would happen? So it would say, yes, I have done my operation. But if you again see, it has got only one key called 40. Okay. So you cannot add a duplicate value. So when somebody says remove duplicate values from a list, the easiest solution is basically convert it to a set. Okay, let me show you. So x is equal to 10 comma 10 comma 20 comma 30. Now somebody will ask you to remove the duplicates. So I would just say set of x. So what it would do, it would remove duplicate values and give you 10, 20 and 30. Okay. Now let me quickly create set 1 is equal to 10 comma 20 comma 30, and set 2 is equal to 30 comma 40 comma 50. Okay. Now I want to find set 1 dot intersection with what? With set 2. So what's the answer? So a common value between both set 1 and set 2 is 30. So similarly, I want you to try the difference. Okay. And I want to try the union. Union is quite simple. So set 1 dot union. All right. Union set 2. So it adds both the key values 10, 20, 30 and 40, 50 and gives you a union of values. Okay. And similarly, you can try the difference, set 1 dot difference, set 2. So it is 10 and 20. So the difference between set 1 and, so the values that are there in set 1 and which are not there in set 2 is 10 comma 20. So these are three important methods. The rest of the things you are already familiar with, similar to what are the data types that we did, like append and all that. Those options are available to you. Okay. So key things to remember, you have 6 data types so far. You have strings which are non-modifiable. You have lists which are ordered and modifiable. Okay. You have a dictionary, which is a hash map, which is a key value pair, and which is also non-modifiable. You can only change the values. Okay. And you have a set is basically a data structure which cannot have duplicate values, which is not ordered. Okay. So this much, if you understand, you have a power of using these data structures to actually create your own programs. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is go through these data types one by one. Do both create a data structure, create a particular list or tuple or set or dictionary, do a for loop and do a while loop. So by that, you will understand how to access the values from all of these data structures. So once that is done, okay, so let me go to some other features of Python. We can continue from the next session. So I have another 7 minutes to go. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Pavan, Chirag here.
Yeah.
Actually, I was trying with this uh, and or functions of these sets. Like I had taken one set and I had taken this one more set A and B.
Okay.
So if I do this A and B, it's like union this thing, right? If I do this A and B, I'm not getting the complete set here, like
Uh,
A union B.
I just showed you, right? So I have set 1, 10, 20, 30, right? And I have set
Hmm.
2, 30, 40, and 50. When I did union, set 1 dot union set 2, it
Hmm.
gave me all the elements of both set 1 and set 2. 10,
Yeah,
20,
it has
40,
to give
40,
this
50.
thing, right? But how about if you do this set one and set two? There is an and function and or logical this thing.
No, the AND operation is you are comparing. You are comparing if expression. So AND is meant to give you a Boolean response. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So you are just using set 1 and set 2 like this.
Yeah, yeah. If I do this set one and set two,
Um, so ideally you
like
would
we
not.
do this and or functions in sets also. So just I wanted to know like how it will be the output, whether we will get this complete union and intersection that I wanted to know.
No, unless you use the functionalities, I think the behavior might change. I have not used this and or. So in Python,
Okay,
and
okay,
yeah,
fine, fine. I'll check it out in this
yeah,
case
sure.
actually. No issues. Okay.
So all these data structures are used for a specific problem, and you need to know if okay, the input is coming as a number of the value of numbers in a sequence where I want to use it, and I want to manipulate it. So based on the requirement, you can choose this data structure and start uh, working in your programs. Okay. Yeah, so I think from next class, these are all the very basics, and from next session, we will continue on little more advanced topics like how to work with files, how to handle the errors, and let's do some simple programs before we can actually go forward. So I have a set of programs that you can try out. I will share that in the group, and let me know if you have questions there. All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks, Pan.
Thank you, Pawan.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Pan.